we get rolling here, I thought sometimes I do talk about winning time moments and the importance of that. It's for us, not like defensively, the 2 minute at the half, or at the end of the game, the 4 minute drive. But today I'd also like to talk really how one play can set it off. And that was Quan Martin to me on the forced fumble and the Marshawn fumble recovery. Thought it energized our teams, and every once in a while you see a play, and there it is. That's the one. That's something that needed to take place. And sometimes we can expect where it's going to happen or who it's from, but often it's even better when it's kind of the perfect person to do that. I thought Quan really led all day with his play, with his voice, and everyone fed off of that. So it made a lot of sense that he was the one that I thought really set it off. We ended up scoring on that play after that fumble recovery. I thought that was the one. That was the play that set it off for this game, for our team, the energy that it brought. And just thought I'd bring that up. Oftentimes I talk so much about winning time moments, and every once in a while there's just a play that, sets off the direction of how the game's going to go for the entire team. And I thought that was the play in this game. So glad to open up to you guys and get started on the day.
Go ahead, Con.
Hey, Dan, what kind of qualities jump out to you when you're watching Bill run the ball or just play?
I think it's the change of direction. He's got very good vision, John, inside, but he can really put his foot in the ground and break tackles. There's an element of vision and cuts. I can remember even all the way back through training camp. There it was. There was another play, and I thought he excels really on the inside plays where now he can see things quickly, make a violent cut, and then get north-south. So that's what I see from him. I love this whole running back room. If I could just share for a moment, like the support, and the energy that came from Chris Rodriguez and Jeremy McNichol on the sideline. Like, man, these guys back each other like crazy. It's a really cool group. And
then what did you see from Marshawn yesterday?
Well, I thought just, right from the beginning, he was involved in the whole thing. I thought technique on point, going through the whole system, the fumble recovery. This is a really talented passing offense with the trio that they have and how they feature them. So we knew we'd have our work cut out for them. But I thought the defensive backs in particular, the communication with the linebackers, how they would go about it. They worked hard on that this week against, like I said, a talented offense. And so you could tell they put in the extra into that space.
All right, David Aldridge.
Sorry about that. Dan, you had talked all during camp about the depth of the defensive line, and I wonder what's happening that is allowing them to kind of consistently be good against the run and now start to generate some pressures and get to the quarterback.
Yeah, that's the key, man. And I really think it starts inside, David, with Duran and J.K. Their presence, their ability to disrupt. Oftentimes you see the big guy that's an anchor, and that's an effective thing when he can stay and, sit on the double teams. But these are also two guys that can move. And I think their ability to create some havoc in the run game, to cross face of blocks, to get vertical, those are things that, smaller players often you move with. So to see some of the big guys, those two in particular inside, I think that's been a real impact for us in the run game. And, yeah, we are leaning in on other guys. I thought Newton, was somebody that's, like I see his arrow going up as well. So, but I think it starts at the inside of it all. I really do.
What did you see from Jordan yesterday, McGee?
We've talked about him long as a special teams player, but in this game we would see some other plays where he'd be playing, in some different packages. He just plays so square behind the ball that's where he's at his best. He can see it, he can tackle, he can accelerate. Thought he did a good job disrupting on the blitz. I think he missed on his sacks. He was upset about that. But it was really good to get him going. You have heard me talk about him, and with Frankie and Bobby here, we haven't seen as much. So I thought it was good design by Joe and the staff to, have a package that, allowed him to, really make his impact felt.
Howard?
Dan, on Krosky Merritt, what did you and or Cliff see that made you decide to feature him as much as you did yesterday?
I think as the gap schemes continued to have some success, Howard, inside, we leaned right into it. And I thought he had a good week of practice leading into that. And so because of that, we thought, this is some times for him to earn some more. So I think, Howard, it really came from just him improving in the system and then having a great week to go into it. But that's where it led into. It wasn't as intentional as it sounds, but Anthony, I thought, also did a good job saying, okay, like, this guy's really going. And even after the fumble, he was discouraged and disappointed and say, man, no, get back. We're going to go fight for this thing again. I loved the way he responded.
And wanted to ask you about Luke McCaffrey, and where would you say the greatest area of growth you've seen from him in his second year? And was there maybe a particular moment in training camp or in a practice or in a game that stuck out to you and kind of signaled, okay, maybe this is a guy who's in a different place than he was as a rookie?
Yeah, and I thought coming into it, I felt the experience of the route running and all the technique that goes with that, Howard, first. Coming in from him, with his background at quarterback, almost seeing too much, but then he really got into the details at receiver, at the technique, at the specific routes. But there's one thing that separates him, Howard, I think that he has, and he can feel it, like, it is this competitive spirit. In a game 2 weeks ago, I saw him catch a touchdown pass and then go down and cover a kick and be in on a tackle. And I think that speaks to, like, just the competitor he is. So yesterday, had a kickoff return out to the 40. Bill had a long run that I thought he had a fantastic block, towards the end on the sideline when he came back out to the right. And then we showed that in the team meeting onto the field post today. So 3 different plays, one on teams, one on the blocking downfield, and one on the pass. And a lot of it wasn't, designed, unusual or tricky, Howard. It was just honestly just going out and, like, just competing. And he really stands himself apart into that way. And he's one of our most consistent guys in that department. And it definitely keeps showing itself.
Thank you.
JP?
Hey, Dan. Yesterday, it seemed like Jaden was really making an effort to protect himself on some of those runs. You saw the slide and giving himself up. How pleased were you with him showing that maturity, working his way back from the injury?
Yeah, we'd all talked about that, JP. Correct to say the only thing worse than being out is not, learning some of the lessons, to say, when is this play over, whether it was throwing the ball away or, going down, I got the yards and get down. And so I thought, for me as a coach, that was a good sign to know that it's a super difficult thing to practice. We're not going to hit them in practice. And so these are the moments, and this is where we're going to grow and learn from. And so when do I take my shot? When do I say this play is over? But you're right. I thought for him that was a good sign and a good step in the right direction, knowing, all right, I can play the next down. I can play the next down after that.
And then what's the level of optimism, especially with the extra day here for Monday night with Terry McLaurin getting back for you guys?
Yeah, we're optimistic, JP, and we'll have more information as the week goes on to see where they're at with he and Noah and Sam Cosme and a few other guys that are, kind of trending in the right way. We'll make sure we take all the right steps, just like we do with all the guys. If they're able to, fully express how they play and do their thing, then we're there. And if not, we'll have to keep waiting. But we won't decide yet. But with having an extra day, that never hurts, JP, going into it. But as we get, a few more days from now, I think I'll have a better sense for if it's able to be done and what it looks like and how they're responding to it.
Thank you.
Scott?
Hey, Dan. With Bill, he had 16 touches on 28 snaps yesterday, and obviously he produced a tremendous amount. Going forward, is this the situation maybe you'd like to utilize him even more?
We'll keep digging in, Scott, as we're going to go. I think there's a lot that he can get better. He's going to continue to work. That's the fun part for some of these young players, that you just keep going like this. And even on, like, the mistakes like a fumble, you say, all right, how are you going to grow? How are you going to learn from this? And so we do anticipate him growing and even getting better as it goes. But he's got great support. I like how the line play, the tight ends, like in that spot, there's some real run action that's taking place. He's got great support here from Anthony and the other backs. So we're just going to keep developing him, Scott. I'm not putting a limit or a play count on it. We're just going to work our ass off to help him become the best player that he can. And that doesn't happen in 1 week, but as we keep working and we keep working, like we're just not backing off on that. And we think there's a lot, of upside and a high ceiling for him.
And Dan, I think you mentioned it after the game. I know it was one game, but that looked like Commander football yesterday, and you mentioned it. Was that almost like a wake-up call to the rest of the team, like this is how we play, this is what it's supposed to look like going forward?
We want that to look like that all the time. And sometimes, like yesterday, I took that play of Quinn. He was the one that set it off yesterday, Scott. But there is an attitude and a speed that we want to play with. It doesn't mean we're always going to play it perfectly or play it just right, but there's an intensity about how we play and when we're at our best. There's also there's a joy that goes with it. I think I saw that with Jaden as well. Here he's smiling as he's going through it, battling, but also this is a crew that they're connected, man. And so to see these guys want to fight for one another and get it right, that's a really important piece. So we'll have our work cut out for us, but you're leaning into the right things about our attitude, our effort, the way we play. And when we're that connected, we're a problem. And we're going to continue to work hard at that and really protect that.
Liam?
Hi, Coach. Curious what you've seen from the offensive line group over the past couple weeks.
Yeah, I thought coming in, we knew if the run game can improve, there'd be some good run action plays that would come off of it, Liam. That's the byproduct of getting some good run plays into it. I like that we're athletic enough that any of the guys can pull. You've seen all of them get on the edge, including Biotic, who got outside and got a piece of the defensive end on Krosky Merritt's touchdown run towards the end of the half. And so having those guys who can get out in space and make blocks, that's a difficult thing. But when you do, explosive plays can then happen because now you're out in space, you get one block, the runner who can get into that spot. For us, it's not just the line. We think of it as all 11. It's the quarterback carrying out the fake. It's, Debo on a bubble that's not thrown, but because we do, the defender has to go. So as much as we can, Liam, it's about the space and can guys play full speed and haul an ass so we can attack the field this way, horizontally and vertically. And when you can do that, it can make it tough. And so that's how we play. And the more that we can do of that, the better.
That leans right into my next question, which is how does having Jaden back help that run game be more multidimensional?
I think because of the fact it's all 11, and we pretty much had the same process with Marcus as well, but it does make you defend the 11th player. It's not just a handoff where, a middle field player or somebody else can now go into. So carrying out the fakes and staying alive into that spot. We also have some throws that come off of our runs, the RPOs that go with it. So we're just going to stay in this attacking mode, Liam, and try to put as much pressure on a defense as we can. But the quarterback in the run game is still a big part of that, even if he's just carrying out a fake, knowing that there is a pull element that could happen on some plays. So we'll stay consistent with that.
Thank you.
Donna?
Hey, Coach.
Hi, Donna.
Did you see yesterday the defense shift into another gear as far as better technique, tackling, and the trust even more of each other?
I think probably the last one, I think that came from communication. I heard it in practice during the week, extra emphasis onto that. We even did some different things. As opposed to using crowd noise, I did it just the opposite. So when they came to the line of scrimmage, there was no sound. So I wanted to hear them communicate verbally, non-verbally, to make sure they could talk ahead of the call. And so I thought that was a good sign to see that carry over, Donna, from practice into the game. And as coaches, you've heard the ones you get what you emphasize. And so we were emphasizing that hard, and that's what I saw going into it.
And Debo talked a little bit about Mikey. He said that Mikey said last week, I think I'm going to get a pick. And he actually did get the pick. Did they work on any technique things as far as, I know you said that you wanted to see more turnovers. Last week, did they practice a little bit more on certain things in getting turnovers?
We certainly practiced it a lot. But what did happen in practice, there were more chances at the ball. And I saw them being more aggressive toward that Thursday and Friday, and both of those to go. And so it doesn't surprise me that Mike was right in the middle of it. I thought he had his best tackling game. He had one on kickoff. He fit in the run well. But he's got great hands, and so for him it wasn't the over-trying. It's be in the right spot, and you can make all the plays. And I thought that was a good example of that in the red zone where he sat, he waited. Johnny got a good tip on it, but he had vision on the QB. So he wasn't guessing to go right or left. He really just nailed it. And I thought that was a real one, big deal in the game because that led into what turned out to be a 4-minute drive at the end. And that's the complementary football, Donna, that we're looking for. When a turnover takes place, can we go capitalize off it?
Thanks.
Ben?
Hey, David, obviously, when you guys acquired Debo, you have high expectations, and he's had a very good career. But he's looking at the numbers; he's going to be easily, if he stays healthy, easily passing what he's done in the past. Does anything surprise you so far? How is he doing this at this rate when at times he's the only receiver on the field that the other team probably really has to worry about?
Well, I guess I would disagree with you on that, but I would say that he is one of our league's best competitors. And maybe the byproduct of him moving around so much in training camp, he was outside, he was inside, he played different spots. I think that training added to him, Ben, because now he's comfortable at all the spots. And he's also in a different system, than he was at San Francisco. And the way they featured him was excellent there and showed all the plays. And so anytime a guy goes to a new spot, there's new wrinkles and things that would happen. It would have been the same if he had been coming from D.C. to San Francisco. And so that's normal. And so finding different things that players can do, it's a big piece of it. But one thing I know, there's a competitive edge to him, and it just reveals itself on game day. It is so much fun to see. And so I love the energy and the toughness that he brings to the team. And, we're going to try to put him in as many spots as we can to make his impact. And he's always down for that.
With regards to some of the younger receivers, like we see a running back, we're asking you today, why did Bill get more work this week than maybe he had? And you see the value of a Jeremy McNichols, all the things he can do as the young guy is learning. Is that the same thing that's happening to some degree with Luke and Jalen Lane, whereas they're playing fewer snaps than Chris Moore? Or what is it about where they're at that they maybe just haven't gotten that full-blown work yet?
Well, I'd say some of it's a little bit different of how we feature them. Their roles on special teams as well, make an impact. Both of them are our starting returners. So we won't use them on every snap, Ben, but we're going to certainly try to feature them as best we can. But I wouldn't look into it too far of, think of it in totality, like the whole game of how we feature the guys. And that's how we'll go about it. But we're certainly pleased with their development and how they're playing. So I thought the 3rd and 16 catch for Jalen and the long pass that went to Luke was a big one. But there was a number of plays for both of them that also showed up, maybe not on the stat sheet, the block by Luke, and some other ones, on terms of how we would go attack. You feel Jalen's speed, whether he's at slot, whether he's returning. So, we're going to continue to try to put them in their spaces where they can do their thing.
Andy?
Hey there, Coach. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Going back to the linebacker group, I know last week after the Atlanta game, you got a few questions about Bobby Wagner and the number of defensive snaps that he gets. But from your perspective, what is the importance of Bobby Wagner to this defense on game day? I know we talk about him a lot as a leader, but can you share, what he brings on game day?
Well, I think there's a tackling presence. When you're playing linebacker, Candy, you're right in the middle of it all. And you're going to be involved in as many plays, that involve tackling, not just in the tackle box, but outside of it. And so I like that the instincts he has. And a little bit like playing quarterback, there's, alignments, adjustments to move somebody to, put somebody into a different spot. There was times yesterday where it was going quickly that he always has the green light. Hey, you make the call. Where it's not waiting, for Joe to go if they're going quickly. And so as long as he knows the personnel, he's got that kind of instincts, Candy, that he can take that on as well when the times are appropriate.
And kind of maybe pulling on that thread a little bit more in terms of the decision-making. We've often, talked about in the past about the collaborative decision-making when it comes to a preparation for the game. But in-game, can you give an example of what that collaborative decision-making looks like?
Sure. Might be after a series when something comes up, we're all ask a player, hey, against this look, let's go to this. Against this person, let's go to that. And so as the game goes, Candy, then you hear them start talking more. Watch for this, look for this player, expect this route. And so often in the beginning of the games, you're gathering the information. And then during the game, you see the guys, whether they're on the sideline, looking at the iPad, looking at formations. If you and I were playing the same position, I would share the same information to you, and then you would do it back to me when we're not, in at the same time. So that would be the best example of, hey, these are some things that are come up. That's what I saw, so they can pass it on to the next person that sees it.
Thank you.
You're welcome.